There it is again. It's as if in your mind, there's a cracked door that leads to another room. You can't quite see inside, but you hear a voice mumble,
"You can't do it. You're not ready. This isn't realistic. You're not smart, strong, fast, attractive, or disciplined enough for that."
Unchecked self-doubt acts as a limiter on our actions for the rest of our lives, guaranteeing nothing except regret on our deathbeds. This video isn't going to be your regular self-doubt video, which is typically just motivation porn. Rather, it's the truth about self-doubt that you actually need to hear and the framework to overcome it. But first, you have to understand that there are two types of self-doubt. For example, when I started my YouTube journey, I was in a small town. No one else was making videos besides me. So it really disillusioned my brain and inflated my ego into thinking, oh, I know what's up. I'm a great YouTuber. I'm a great creator. But occasionally I would get that feeling of imposter syndrome. And that wasn't a bad thing. That self-doubt wasn't bad. It was the subconscious. And more than that, the reality of the world trying to inform me that, hey, you're not actually that guy. You kind of suck. But the issue with self-doubt is sometimes it permeates. It stays in you. It is part of your subconscious programming. So even when you start to accomplish things, you increase your skill level, you increase your social skills, your confidence, your abilities in your work, or the arts that you practice, you still have high levels of doubt. And this is the issue. This is the bad thing we're going to fix in this video. Because this circle represents your conscious mind. And this red square represents your ego. And everything out here beyond it can be reality. What happens is your ego will block reality from entering your conscious mind. The very reality that's telling you, hey, you need to work harder. Hey, you need to learn these things. Hey, you're not quite that guy yet. The ego's like, no, that causes discomfort. We're going to block those things out. But at the same time, reality could also be your potential. The fact that you are actually capable of doing these things that you're doubting yourself for. But what the ego is also going to do is block that out as well. Because, well, what is that? Discomfort, pushing yourself beyond your current fabricated limitations of your mind. But speaking of reality, there is a harsh reality that I had to face in my journey of overcoming self-doubt. And that was that I was, and most people are, addicted to self-doubt. Because typically what happens is you face some kind of challenge. Maybe you're trying to get on a new diet training plan. Maybe you're trying to embark on a new project. Maybe you want to quit your current job and start an entrepreneurial venture. Maybe you want to raise your grades in school. Maybe you want to deadlift 500 pounds. Pretty much anything that'll elicit self-doubt, there's a challenge. And what happens is the challenge that elicits the doubt then causes you to back off or give up. And typically this means going back to something that is comfortable or even pleasurable. For example, if you're trying to quit junk food and that's a challenge, but then you get hit with self-doubt that you can't overcome your junk food addiction, so you go back to eating junk food, what does that do? It elicits a dopamine response. And because dopamine is the most powerful neurotransmitter there is, it's the reason we do pretty much everything, that creates a habit. Because now your brain knows that if it hits you with that self-doubt, you're gonna go and do the thing that releases dopamine. It's getting rewarded for feeding you those self-doubting thoughts. But what your brain doesn't want you to know is if you actually push through the doubt and take action and achieve that achievement, that also creates an immense sense of satisfaction, of a confidence boost, and a dopamine release. So while you may be stuck in this current cycle right now, this addiction to doubt, I can assure you that once you break free, you will still feel good. It will feel even better than your current standing. So next time you're struggling with self-doubt, when those feelings pop into your head, it's time to start zoffing. Starting with Z, which stands for zoom out. And there are three things you do to zoom out. The first one is you zoom out on the timeline. So your timeline for your goals, your life, the things you want to accomplish, becoming that better version of yourself is like this. When you get hit with those waves of anxiety, you think, I can't do this, I'm not gonna make it, I'm not cut out for this, all that self-doubt is because typically you are very zoomed in on your timeline, maybe just this little block right here. This is when you're in an extremely narrow state of consciousness. All you can focus on is your current problems and the hurdle that's ahead of you. But if you simply pause and zoom out on your timeline and take a look at your 6-month goal, your year goal, your 2-year goal, suddenly these little blips of doubt, of problems, of hurdles that you're facing isn't that big a deal. In fact, you'll probably realize, oh, this is just part of the path I'm on. And as long as I don't lose the battle to self-doubt and continue moving forward, I'm still heading towards those goals I have set in place. And a real quick way to make a timeline is just start with a 2 to 5 year goal. I find anything beyond that is just too far in the future, too far-fetched for your mind to really comprehend or believe it's real, and then backtrack to a year goal, and then backtrack to a 6-month goal that puts you on track for the year goal, and then backtrack to a 3-month goal, and a 1-month goal, and a 1-week goal, and then a goal of that day that you are on. Because then you can zoom out and realize, if I complete this day, I'm on track for the month, I'm on track for the 6 months, I'm on track for the year, I'm on track for my goal. But that's easier said than done, because when we're getting hit with that onslaught of negative thoughts, negative emotions, doubts, we are identifying with those thoughts. It feels like we're talking to ourselves, like we're telling these things to ourselves, even though that's not the case. Because what's happening is your conscious mind is being fed these thoughts from your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is full of shit. It's full of trauma. It's full of programming from society, from media, from your peers. In fact, a lot of it is your childhood. Things that your parents or your friends or your family might have done to you before you were, say, 7 years old. Things that you can't even remember that are influencing how you view yourself today. And what typically happens is the thought goes from the subconscious to the conscious, and you identify with it. But there is a way to break that cycle of identification, meaning, oh, it pops into your conscious mind, but then it fades back out because you don't hold on to it. And that is through increasing your level of metacognition. Metacognition is having awareness of your awareness. It's the ability to observe everything appearing in your conscious mind without getting emotionally triggered or identifying with it. It is quite literally the thing that saved my mental health growing up. I was an extremely insecure, doubtful kid. I had tons of anxiety and depression, all those things. But once I started this one practice that is guaranteed to increase your levels of metacognition, my life changed. And that was through meditation. But the thing is, most meditations are surface level. It's like these little YouTube breathing exercises that may calm you down temporarily, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about gaining control over your conscious mind, building the mental muscle that is metacognition, that is mindfulness. And that's why I created my free 5-day guided meditation series for you in the description. You can go grab it after this video. But there's one final ingredient you have to add to make sure this is actually effective and can help you break these cycles of self-doubt. When these thoughts appear in your mind, they're typically scattered, they're fragmented, they're messy. It's like a bunch of pieces of cut up spaghetti, which makes it extremely hard to deal with. But there is something that you can do that takes all these scattered, fragmented thoughts and organizes them in a precise way that allows you to actually observe and deal with it. And that is journaling. It's actually quite simple to do. Write down this worst case scenario, shortcoming that your brain is so worried about, and make sure you're writing it precisely and in complete sentences. Imagine if you were chilling in a room and you looked at the wall and saw the shadow of a giant, hairy, 8-legged monster slowly creeping towards you. Rightfully so, you'd be freaked out. But imagine if you took a flashlight, shined it on that shadow, and it revealed that it was just a little bitty spider that the sun was hitting perfectly and casting the shadow onto your wall. That is what this journaling process does. It takes this scary, convoluted, fragmented mess and puts it into something that you can observe from a pulled back perspective, especially when you dump it from your brain onto paper. And what happens is, one, you usually realize, oh, that's kind of silly. And two, the more you do this, the more it becomes repetitive and boring. You actually get sick of these thoughts because you realize it's BS that your subconscious is feeding you. And that prepares you for step 2 of Zoff. And that's by choosing overaction instead of overthinking. When you're overthinking and facing self-doubt, it's typically because it's present in your conscious mind and it's a loop because your thoughts, your feelings, everything is anchored on this current issue floating around in your conscious mind. Whereas when you take action, what you're doing is you're allowing another thing, the actual action that you're taking in reality, to also enter your conscious mind. And what this does is it actually minimizes the self-doubts. It turns it from these self-doubt, these negative thoughts screaming in your face to maybe a muffled yell from a distance away. And beyond that, when you take actions that contradict your self-doubts, that actually provides justification to the subconscious mind. And what that does is it influences your self-image, which is your opinion of yourself, which is what sets that bar that you can't seem to break through, that limits your potential, and destroys over time that self-doubt. A couple weeks ago, it was 7 p.m. I was sitting on my couch over there, and I was experiencing some of these negative thoughts that I haven't really seen in a while. It was regarding myself, my work, pretty much everything about me. But you know what I did? I immediately got up, went to my elevator, went down to my little apartment gym, and ran 2 miles on the treadmill, something I haven't done in a very long time. And even that singular action that took me less than 20 minutes drastically changed the trajectory of 1, the rest of my night, but 2, the rest of that week and the weeks following. And when it comes to action, it doesn't actually require much. You could have just had a big steaming pile of shit that was your past week or even month, and all it takes is 1 diamond of a day or 1 diamond of an action to completely destroy this shit. And what does that diamond do? It builds momentum for you to go and do another good thing and another good thing and another good thing. And those are just lines on a board. I'm not really drawing anything there. But even when you start taking action, there is a one bias that the human mind has that is going to negatively affect you and actually cause more failures and more doubts in the future. And that is the negativity bias. It's the reason why when you turn on the news, everything is bad all the time. It's the reason why even with self-improvement, we package our videos in a negatively angled way because we know it's more likely to make you click on it. And people who ski a lot are fully aware of this because when they're going through a forest and weaving through trees, they know that if they're thinking in their mind, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, they're gonna hit a tree because all of their focus is honed in on trees ahead of them. But when instead you're thinking, follow the path, follow the path, follow the snow, the mind just naturally carves out the way between the trees and you don't hit a tree. And that's why F stands for focus on do's, not don'ts. For example, if I had to deliver a big speech and my self-doubt is in full force and it just keeps telling me, don't stutter, don't stutter, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. All that's doing is painting the image in my brain of me messing up. And what'll happen? I'm probably gonna mess up. But if I'm focusing on do's, such as do smile, do make eye contact, use hand gestures or expressive tonality, my mind is full of the positive things that I should be doing, and thus I'm way more likely to nail it. Furthermore, when you do this, you're literally envisioning the negative outcomes, and what does that do? It lowers your self-image, which increases your levels of self-doubt. But obviously, this is gonna require some discipline. Self-doubt is a form of resistance fed to you by your current self to stop you from becoming the higher self. So if you click the video on the screen right now, I explain how to battle the resistance that your mind feeds you so you can actually do the things, get the work done, become that better professional version of yourself. So you can click it. It's on the screen. Maybe it's on the left. Maybe it's on the right. I don't know. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.